All right. So tonight's scent of all scents is once again we're doing the four winds. I found out was actually jasmine and marigold. We have a little dragon's blood, and we're wrapping it up with a little bit of white cactus. So it's a lovely fresh scent going on over here in the household. And without much further ado, does anyone remember where we are? And most importantly, what
I remember there was a brief musical number about the room where it happens.
Yep.
Right?
Yes, there was.
If I am caught up to date, I don't know.
So I suppose the good question would be, should we swap down to play, or are we just chilling out here?
We're chilling out here. We'll move things a little bit. We're missing two of the Pentarchy that are present, and so we'll commemorate their absence with playing here on the veranda. We got a lovely view of Lake Michigan. There's Lakeshore Drive, which is Sheridan up here, and then there's the freeway that takes up nearly the entirety of South Vista, and to our west, nothing but darkness and low-lying suburbs. It is a great time to be a brewer. It's a great time to be here in Milwaukee. Things are changing. There's been a rousing group of people that are singing drinking songs, and we have surmounted the day. Things are changing and have changed.
Right? There are Primogen now, and we're some of them, and we're like, oh, hi.
Indubitably. You all
We have...
Primogen.
Hold on one second. Discord has a soundboard.
Yeah, it is definitely a thing.
I'm sorry, we got a what?
A soundboard?
Yeah, just be very careful because it's very weird.
Probably. I haven't updated my Discord in like a year.
Most of the servers I'm on actually have it turned off because people will do very stupid things with it. Like, I specifically have the Discord, somebody has joined the VC sound on my soundboard. I didn't put it there. One of my friends put it in one of the servers that I'm in, and now I have access to it, and it's beautiful.
What you're saying is I should probably go edit Coast.
Yep. I think it's already turned off in the Coast, so we're fine.
Okay. Cool, because I'm like, I don't what.
If we use this well enough, I feel like it could add some nice ambiance.
This is kind of a moment of fortuitous happenstance, because see, I was panicking hardcore whenever I woke up and realized that I'd fallen asleep, because for some reason my brain read the 14th as the 28th, and so I thought that I had fucked up and nearly missed my session, but now I just get to sit in and listen to you guys, which is in and of itself a nice little treat.
Well, there you go.
Oh, so if I'm not mistaken, I need to yell at Sensei so he can get over here, right?
Why? That's because you just want to hang out.
It was specifically so that he can hang out.
Okay.
I don't know, does Sensei pop in and listen to your games?
Not usually.
Not usually.
Not that we object, but he doesn't.
See, whenever I am awake for your guys' events, I try to sit in here as much as I can, but for the most part, by this time, I'm either asleep, still, or deeply engaged in something known as being a dumbass on a video game.
I see. Well, We are roughly 4 minutes past our hard start. We are gathered round the old virtual table that sits here between us, this lovely Discord space that we share. Before diving in with both feet, hanging on with two hands, what are any questions, suggestions, hypotheses, or corners we need to round off before diving?
Are we picking up exactly where we left off, or is there going to be another like small jump forward in time?
There is going to be a small jump forward in time. There are several things that only time can properly give the right amount of tension to, and because I'm lazy, I don't feel like piloting Max or Charlie in absentia.
I would call that laziness. That's just being reasonable.
I mean, to be fair, it's Charlie. What are they really going to say?
Surprisingly, quite a lot at just the most unexpected moment. Charlie has proven to be more personable than even Salem in how they comport themselves and their level of expressing the turmoil and social anxiety from being in a room full of predators. On multiple occasions, Charlie has lived up to the fact of being far too human to be kindred. Not averse to a little bit of violence and running into the known dangers of being a kindred. It's the unknown dangers that usually has them clamming up. A room full of hungry eyes and sticky touches. A underground space filled with the unknown dangers of where the boundaries of the world are thinner. So yeah, we will be missing our gangrel and our Toreador. Do we have any other questions to get started to set the table, as it were?
More just a heads up that I'm going to be switching between my phone and computer a few times tonight, so because I have to basically play musical chairs with my own seating. So if my audio quality sounds better or worse throughout the night, that's why.
Okay, sounds like a plan. Which is kind of funny. I found there's an overstock location not far from me, and they periodically have things that are interesting or worthwhile. So I swung by after picking up the middle child, and I obtained a new-ish. It's a season or two out of date, but it's a new headset with a USB port mic instead of a 3.5. So yeah, just interesting that how that came up in your musical chairs. So, taking into we are at that lovely bit of silence where there aren't any further questions. There aren't any.
I've been trying to access for the past 3 minutes. Are we moving rooms? Or are we staying here?
We are in fact staying here. We're going to party in a different space tonight. Instead of using our normal, nice, cushioned, leather-backed, winged chairs, we're going to be moving out onto the veranda. We got a nice little shade loungers and low-slung end tables. We're able to watch the lake as it laps and crashes against our shoreline. Get a nice little summer breeze blowing in for the next couple of hours before it drops into the, early winter weather once more. And with our silence, I'd like to say thank you. I'm going to try to keep it short and sweet. You all, I'm sure, are quite tired of me trying to express how much and how valued you are. So I will keep it as direct as I possibly can. I am the biggest fan of each of our chronicles that we play because of your time, your skill, and your energies in bringing these characters in this world to life. Thank you. And without further delay, without further ado-ing until we don't, taking our silence to mean that we are reading out of the same book, if not the same chapter, page, and verse. This is, without a shadow of a doubt, officially the Brew. We are into our second volume, and tonight's episode is Invented by He Who Was Wise. Now, that quote typically refers to beer, typically refers to liquid bread and all that entails. The ability to, because initially beer was used instead of water in many places. Beer has been around far longer than what we know of as our current day wine and most of our current day spirits. It has always been a thing of sorts. It's always been a beverage of choice. It was a treat. It was a reward. It was used to barter. It was something that you traded. It was nearly as valuable to communities as their livestock, their crafts, their smiths, their fullers, i.e. the clothiers, and textile workers. It was a thing to be celebrated, and it was used for celebrations of all sorts, of all variety. Even now, it is used to commemorate things such as it's Friday, or Wednesday, Thursday, Monday, as well as, the birth of a child or the impending birth of a child. It's used to celebrate the passing of a life. It is used to simply decompress and escape the world. It has a many and varied use. And without proper care and maintenance, it has many a sore and destructive end. A night begun with a sip of a beer could end with one waking up no longer in the land of the living. A night beginning with a sip of beer could end with several hurried calls to family members, friends, and associates stating they're no longer with us, or they're at the hospital, or get dressed and pick me up, I'm not sure what's happening. And often looked down upon and discounted could also end with, I need you to take me to the jail, and you gotta bail them out again. So, like everything else in mortal life and the dead lives of the kindred, it is a double-edged sword. And if not respected, could have disastrous results. Much like the re-establishing of the Primogen Council, a putting back together the band, commemorated with the first baby chorus concert in Milwaukee in over 30 years, culminating with the first seasonal night concert at the stadium for this year, ending officially in every way and every perception Prince Decker's mourning. The riot, the putting down of the anarchs, was the unofficial step forward back into society, back into the community. His hands directly on what the Anubi and the judges were doing. And everyone immediately got their hackles up. Everyone immediately started putting their guard up and becoming more wary. Because it is a profitable thing in Milwaukee to rat out kindred who congregate in groups of more than 5. It is a profitable thing and improves one's standing, or at least it had improved one's standing, denoting kindred who spoke of those who had been ostracized, who had been blacklisted, i.e. killed. Because for the last 30 years, Milwaukee was in fact a prison state. It was in fact an embattled colony at war with the Lupines in the area, but more so at war with the idea of the founding of any dissension. All those many decades ago, Decker was the hero of the land. He saved Milwaukee from the Mad Prince. He saved Milwaukee from all of the graft and corruption that was running rife through the Primogen Council. And these 30 years of relative peace, tense, paranoid peace, something changed. The loss of his child, the death of his child, the awarding of a domain to those kindred from Chicago, the loosening of his iron-fisted grip on power. Something has changed. And so we move forward roughly 2 weeks from the inaugural presentation of the Primogen Council. And as always, when there's power to grab, there are those who will tear through the mob of other perceived competitors to hold on to that power. None of them foolish enough to slip up, show their hand, to show what they really were after or what they really have been doing. There's been lots of gatherings with Decker's praxis having slacked, because as a Primogen, you are technically above that. So if you call a meeting and there are more than 5 kindred, none of those kindred who arrive are privy to being outside of the rule of law. There's a plenary indulgence automatically granted. And as such, most of the Primogen Council have been holding meeting after meeting after meeting, trying to carve out an actual space and domain for themselves, trying to ensure that a yoke and leash of favors and boons forms a web that they can sit at the center of. There's been a scrabbling of power. And as such, for the time that has passed, we will approximate what you all have been doing with a simple, easy, straightforward roll. You have a choice, either through your gift of persona, through your manipulating of what everyone else has been doing, or simply because you are smart enough to see around corners and attack everything at edges, from angles and edges. So either your charisma, manipulation, or wits, in accord with your either leadership, streetwise, or politics. And while you decide which pool you'll be using to approximate your efforts for these last few weeks, starting in reverse alphabetical order, 2 weeks have passed. What have you been working at, Aaron?
I would say that over the last couple weeks, Aaron has been focusing on 3 main things. Number 1 is trying to find the traitor that originally instigated the Anarch riot and got away. The one that I don't have his name written down right now, so I don't recall his name. What was it, Storyteller?
We know who you're speaking of. Fire away. Keep going. You got this.
Okay. Second order of business that he'd be focusing on is trying to cement his position as Primogen, primarily by meeting with as many kindred as possible. He's mainly focusing on basically building up the image he'd already created for himself as an angel investor, trying to meet with up-and-coming coteries, people who are ambitious young kindred, but he's also trying to establish connections with other kindred with financial interests, hoping maybe they would be willing to open up an account with him. The third order of business is focusing on the facility that they acquired from the Hecata, trying to ensure that's a smooth operation that's running over there and trying to build that up.
That's quite the level of difficulty.
If he has to prioritize anything, then it's going to be in that order. The finding the traitor is top priority, establishing connections second, and then the blood trade facility is third.
All right. So busy, in fact, busy. And in anti-alphabetical moving north of Aaron, Millie.
Well, since I went with manipulation and politics, I think her focus is going to be on bulletproofing the brewery from other attacks of like snatching people that matter to her, by making friends and putting bodies in the way, kind of. I guess boons, if boons will be involved, making boons, exchanging favors, that kind of thing. That's where her focus is going to be.
All right, sounds like a plan. And lastly, but most certainly not leastly, Mal.
Right.
What have you busied your energies with over the last few weeks?
Oh, you mean that the pater hasn't, just yanked her and is like rimming her a whole new astral body for the last 2 weeks?
Well, everyone's been busy with this sudden change of the ebb and flow. It's one of the ideas that Milwaukee had become a closed system. And now someone, Prince Decker, has injected not just chaos, but the distilled essence of chaos into this closed system, while creating the opportunity for other kindred to meet, greet, and otherwise congregate together, which had not been in place for 30 years. It's easy to understand the ebb and flow of things if they flow in such a small way. More people means more eyes. More eyes means more opportunity for people to misperceive. And the pater is nothing if not thorough before making a move.
So yeah, she's probably probably having her retainer dig up what he can using his technology and communications background. There's always a paper trail somewhere digitally. And she is probably just, because she is most comfortable not in big crowds doing politics, she's probably just, out on the street, not necessarily shaking hands and kissing babies, but, out on the street where she is known. And possibly, if Aaron is amiable to it, hanging out with him when he is going out to meet people, because this is not her area of expertise at all.
Okay. And so, of the dice pools presented, and we still need the mechanical backing for both Aaron and Mal's choice of activities to fill their time. There is some overlap.
Quick, just want to reiterate it was charisma, and then what were the options for the skill?
It was either charisma or manipulation or wits, and there was politics, leadership, or street.
So yeah, I guess for me that would be wits and streetwise.
I'll be choosing charisma and politics. And one other question about it is, would throwing money at the problem help at all? Because Aaron does have quite a few dots and resources.
Throwing money? For the younger kindred, yeah, definitely. For those more ensconced in the boon system, the real power of the kindred community, no, not so much.
Okay.
And then, since it's been a couple of weeks, what would our hunger be? Should we assume 1 or?
Yes, always assume 1.
Okay. Perfect. And then, does status/effective status factor in, or retainer, since I'm using him to do some of the work?
No, but it will count against the consecutive rolls that will be made shortly. You all could have assisted each other, but everyone being disparate means that your roles stand on its own.
I said I was helping Aaron, or he was helping me. And now I have a cat on my laptop. Cool.
Well, especially if it's a nice lit laptop, it's probably warmer than you did. Alright, so Gander here, resources of 4, right?
Yes.
Millie, resources? Are there any other extenuating factors to consider before subtracting from the die pool for the contested state of affairs in Milwaukee proper?
The only resource I have listed is an importer of things, and I don't know how they would quite work into this unless one of the boons that was promised is getting something that's hard to get in America and having the importer get it for me.
Okay. And Mal? Listed your retainer. Now, is that a 1 dot, 2 dot, or 3 dot retainer?
He is a 3 dot retainer.
Okay. Okay. And just a little bit of math. It's not that hard.
Is it too late to ask if Aaron's stunning good looks help him at all?
It isn't that.
No, but my effective status of 2 might help you.
Oh yeah, I have that merit. I have beautiful 2 dots.
All right. So now we have to wonder who's rolling here.
All right. So, as stated, Milwaukee, like all cities, is its own ecosystem. Milwaukee, unlike most other kindred domains, is a closed ecosystem. They're not the constant letters flying through the U.S. Postal Service. There's not the constant packages being shipped UPS and FedEx, and there's not the constant calls handled through satellite phones as there are anywhere else in the world. Milwaukee is a monitored, paranoid, closed system. And into the mix, the table has been flipped. There are those clamoring to be heard and to be represented. There are those who greedily and avariciously will cling to whatever firebrand, whatever beacon seems to make the path the easiest. Because as little as 4 weeks ago, the easiest thing to do was to isolate oneself and only interact if interacted upon. The riot, which is what has become known as publicly, and privately it was the Viking Purge, changed that. It put whispers of maybe we're not as safe as we thought. Someone tried to represent themselves in the absence of being represented. Someone tried to take some semblance of power, and the government slammed down on them like they were a fly, crushing them into nothingness. And of course, because of those rumors, there was a feeling of uproar, a feeling of ennui, and the ash heads who were frequently infrequent grew in number. The kindred willing to find whatever way to escape in their own isolation grew. And because of your efforts exploring the Capitol Hill area, solidifying allies to yourselves, ensuring that you have places of safe harbor, armored and secured against intruders, armored and secured against someone taking it from you or taking something inside from you, and from your efforts to build a groundswell of support. There hasn't been an official Primogen meeting in 30 years. The places to have that Primogen meeting is anyone's guess. And it's only when you all, through the grapevine and then finally from the lips of JW Blue himself, yo, motherfuckers know y'all need to get down to the cigar bar. There's a suite upstairs on the 2nd floor. You'll have to leave all your weapons and be checked in. You are expected to be there promptly, as all good representatives are. The prince wants you motherfuckers to act like a body politic. And the rumors broke. The whispers broke. There are people championing your cause and willing to wage war. There are bodies who are lining around and trying to build their own domains abutting the Capitol Hill area. You have word on the street being spread far and wide, and every other night or two, Aaron and Raiden are pulled to the side with, "Hey, we found him! We found him!" And it's some scruffy-haired kindred or scruffy-haired mortal who has no idea what's going on, but they are ardently searching for the would-be Baron of Capitol Hill. They are ardently visiting the brewery, making sure that, hey, we don't do that shit here. Sit down. They are ardently championing your banners. That you have somehow tapped into the disaffected of Milwaukee. And they're forming up, unbeknownst to you all, into a near militarized gang, using your name as the lightning rod, as the shield and the sword to which you all are becoming a clear and present danger to the tranquility of Milwaukee. In other words, if you all were Pokemon trainers, you all have effectively trained them to be super effective and loyal and bought in. It is forming its own pseudo-religion. You all were the first coterie granted a domain. You were the first coterie granted a plenary indulgence against Prince Decker's edict of no more than 5 kindred in one place at one time. You all were the survivors and champions of the raid against the Anarchs at the Capitol Hill location. There have been requests, there have been pleas, there have been outright begging to reopen the trading hub beneath the Taco Bell at the Capitol Hill. You all haven't had the opportunity to put your heads together and decide whether that's the best thing, whether that is a thing, whether it's a no, whether it's a yes. So you still have people wanting to do business inside of Capitol Hill because it's a safe space behind your army of disaffected neonates, fledgling children. You all are easily in the top 20% respected kingdom in the wall. But yeah, come into the meeting.
It'd probably be a good idea if we attend that.
I should probably put on some nicer clothes, shouldn't I?
Yes. Always dress to impress.
See, this is why my major was in the humanities. I don't have to worry about that shit. She'll, turn around, almost sulking to go change.
I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember Who's the Boss,
Yes.
but remember the mom in Who's the Boss?
Yeah.
The one Tony fell in love with. That's very much Millie's style and closet content. So if you can picture what outfit, an outfit she would put on, that's kind of probably what Millie has on. So right now, it's almost always business casual. She's got on a pantsuit.
Right.
And some very sensible heels in a pastel color.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Amalia can look good. I mean, she was raised in high society. She just prefers not to.
So do you all speak before arriving, or do you all arrive separately to the Black Rose cigar bar there off of Edison?
I would say probably we're arriving together, that whole face of unity thing.
I offer to have Raiden drive us. as our chauffeur.
And which vehicle are you all taking?
I'm sorry, I missed that part. What'd you say?
What vehicle?
Yeah.
Mine, I suppose.
Okay. The Black Rose is in... Describing the Black Rose, the block in and of itself is fairly easy to be impressed by. It is a throwback to the 20s. It's a lot of space designed for a lot of people, and yet filled with large pieces of furniture, substantial tables, designed to emulate what a speakeasy actually was. It's part of the new design of the Black Rose, and it's one of the many reasons why Decker enjoys the space. Not simply because it's reminiscent of it, but it is, in fact, in a relatively secure location. It is east of the river. There's, Highland Avenue and North Edison to get there. You can try coming in off of Juno, but as you all know, driving in Milwaukee, while not a full-time contact sport, does require a certain amount of skill. It has a lot of blind turns and driveways and streets that are in the most inconvenient of locations. Now, Juno is a major 4 and in a lot of places 6-lane road. Water equally as dangerous with 3 and 3 on both sides of the median, both sides of the little safety area between the roads. And then you have Edison and Highland, which are effectively 1-lane roads. It says that it's 2 lanes, but to be perfectly honest, 2 vehicles side by side and you're risking losing both of the mirrors. So everyone drives it very carefully, and there's no parking on Edison and there's no parking on Highland, meaning that the Black Rose there at the corner of Edison and Highland is all but unapproachable. You have to find a nice parking space off of water if you're going to try to park close enough. Luckily for you all, you are in fact chauffeured in. And there are the typical looky-loos, those who smelled or were told about the Primogen meeting but didn't have the right status to be invited in, and so they're loitering near enough at hand to be seen, maybe be pulled into someone's entourage. And it's all but a red carpet moment as you all ease towards the curb. Raiden expertly wheeling the car despite the close confines of Edison, dropping you off literally at curb door service. The 25 feet from the curb into the building, there are eyes and ears and hopes and dreams leveled at you all as you all enter. The 3 of you cutting a image of power, because that is what it is. You all inadvertently, with your recent efforts around town, are the hometown heroes, as it were. The young upstarts challenging the establishment, because if not for you all, it is sure that Prince Decker wouldn't have lowered himself and would not have opened up, would not have been human. He would have been his same cold, iron, facaded monster. But because of your efforts, there aren't any more anarchs, and the children and neonates are finally getting a representative. We got a voice now. We can make change happen. Si se puede! And you can feel that excitement. You can see that excitement as you all step out of the car, Raiden having moved around and opened up the doors for you all to exit. You watch people point Kindred point and look, and some of them start straightening their clothes. Others, raise a fist next to their chest, like, hey, I see you, but yeah, hey, we're in this together. And for those of you unaccustomed to such things, it is scary having people think you are their leaders. It is scary having people willing to bleed for you, to put their immortality at risk for you. And just as you all are a few steps from the door, you all see 3 Kindred, a little scruffy. They clearly have seen better days, clearly have been victim to far worse. And they're doing their best to catch your attention, to get you to look in the direction, to be pulled into your entourage. They want to be in the room where it happens. What do you all do?
Millie would kind of tap Aaron on the arm and motion towards the 3 and lean in. What do you think?
Of what specifically? Those 3?
More like trouble or helpful?
Aaron will give him a quick once-over again to have a look at them. When Aaron actually looks at them directly, how do they behave?
Aaron looks at them directly and recognizes them. 4 days ago, they brought a almost spitting image of the Baron of Capitol Hill that caused all this trouble to begin with, except for it was a college student who had fallen on hard times. Except for them being completely and totally human, they were absolutely spot on. It was easy enough to see them, or see him as your target that you've been looking for. They weren't all that kind with him either.
Aaron will respond back and say, "They're idiots, but they're well-meaning." I think we can safely say that they're on our side.
In that case, maybe we should invite them along.
Absolutely.
And then that's what Millie does. She walks over to the 3, giving them a fairly welcoming smile. So, what I'm going to do for you 3 is have you come along with us. But I would prefer that you use this time as observational time. Let us handle the big things and just enjoy being in the space and see what you learn.
No, we got your back. We got your back, man. Like, no worries. Yeah, we'll just be we're quiet as church mouse, man. I don't even know what that means. But yeah, we're
Okay.
quiet. We got this. We here. We whatever you need, whatever you guys need, I will kill for you. Sheesh, goddamn that.
So we're good. I'm pretty capable myself, thank you. I like your enthusiasm, but can we bring the volume down just to about a 2? 2 would be great.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah.
We're at a 10.
No,
I need a 2.
don't worry.
Thank you. So she motions them along, and then they head in.
He's and your 3 becomes 6. Entering into the everyday finery of the Black Rose, it is easy to understand that you are now in rarefied air. You see Lucina, you see Captain, and you see many of the others that were in the room where the first announcement was made. You see others who were there. Regent Green. And her second, the tall, slightly sickly looking Dr. Mortis, who is a renowned professor in the Hematic arts. You see DJ Barth, who you've all had the opportunity of spending time with. And while not a Primogen, he is there as one of the heralds, one of the recorder of deeds, one of the heartbeats, even. And gives you all a quick nod and looks uncomfortably out of place. He doesn't have a mic in hand. He doesn't have any recording devices. He is not in his element. He's no longer, at least where he's at, the voice of the night. For the first time in nearly 30 years, Milwaukee will not be graced with his electronic presence in their ear. It is an odd thing to consider. The voice has always been there in the dark, whispering sweet nothings into the ears of the kindred wildly enough to listen. His energy for disseminating the word of the prince and the actions happening in the city cleared the fact that he runs both the podcast, he runs the radio, that he runs the flyers that go up around the city in various poles in various places, alerting the kindred that are in the know what that actually is. Seeing him here in person, away from his equipment, away from his finger on the pulse of the city, it feels like something just walked across your grave. There's change because it needs to be, and there's simply just change. And while it is a universal constant, it does not feel comfortable. It does not feel warm and inviting. It feels dangerous.
As Millie comes from a long line of people that were from Louisiana originally, that feeling of things walking across your grave, or that instinct, would probably kind of set her on edge, and she's kind of glancing around, trying to figure out if this is another situation like the hallway all over again.
Yes. In a way, it very much is. There is a wealth of things afoot. And, well, it's that old saying, if you walk into a room and everyone is destined aiming to take someone's money and you don't know who that is, it very well may be you.
As Malia comes in, the first thing she is going to do is look for assigned seating, because that's what she's used to.
No, no such care or consideration is put forth. There's a certain thoroughness and weight of one's own gravitational pull charisma at play. And it is clear that Lucina and Grasses have been using that magnetism and charm that comes from being both Toreador and Ventrue to create a alliance of sorts. And as you all enter, and you're by the door, and just before Mal begins looking for placards assigning places to sit and rest, Lucina smiles and waves at you all as if you are her favorite people in the world. There go my Coozes. It's such a pleasure to see you. You definitely are the head Coos in charge, she says, moving towards you all, offering a hand. Extending it first towards Mal. She moved away from the bulk of your sextuplets. And you look exactly as expected. It is wonderful seeing you up and mobile. You, while not my favorite Coos, are definitely high on the list. I understand you and the Miss Rossi have an understanding?
Something of the sort.
Of course. I don't mean to drag you two out of the closet. I'll let you all enjoy yourself. It's not my place to say what sort of relationship you all have. And Aaron, you look as handsome as people gossip about. I must admit that I thought you might dress perhaps a little bit more stylish than everyday business wear, but it looks good on you.
I like to keep a consistent fashion.
Yeah.
I consider it my trademark.
Yes, timeless, unchanging. It definitely suits you. It's a pleasure seeing you so reliable. And she extends her hands and leans in for a cheek kiss. And then she looks at Millie. And she smiles, pursing her lips together, gazing from head to toe and back. And here is my favorite, the biggest Coos of you all. You are definitely my favorite Coos. The fact that you have done so much with so little is so impressive. It's so brave and strong of you. And she extends her hand.
Millie, just for a minute, that your error 404 thing goes across her eyes, but then recovers and shakes hands in no competitive sort of way, just shakes hands and smiles politely. And you are looking...
Your hands are so soft. No one would ever expect you to be gifted in the manual labor of running such a lovely little establishment. You, my God, if I could just be half of who I am and be your equal, it would be absolutely delicious. You, oh my God. Oh, I'm just enamored with how much you've managed to make a name for yourself. It's so beautiful to see. But come in, welcome, welcome. Grass has been saying so much as to your sire, your Mel, and how the Blue Bloods of Milwaukee are banding together to form an alliance. It is such a beautiful thing to see. Come. We don't want to keep the prince waiting. Grass is feeling a bit under the weather. It seems as if some of the partying that he's been doing. You guys were invited, of course, right? I didn't see you at the last two gatherings.
I believe we were otherwise occupied at the time, but we're here now. That's what counts.
Always expected, just on time. It is perfect. I'm so glad to see you guys. I really was impressed with you all finding a way to reclaim coups and turning into a term of endearment. It is absolutely brilliant on your part, coups. The bunch of you little couzes. It's, oh my god, it's just great. I'm so happy. Where is little Max and Charlotte? Are they otherwise too preoccupied? I know that, affording a good watch is sometimes beyond the pale, no matter how successfully popular you all might be. Should I maybe offer them a donation?
I'm sure they won't reject your generosity, but I do believe they're well off enough on their own.
Well, it is proud. It is a very good thing, them having a level of pride, despite all of their poor trappings, to hold true and stay honest to their roots, salt of the earth, though they are. But I'm sure there was a great decision on your part to leave them behind. You want to put the best foot forward. Primogen though they may be entitled, some of us have a calling to this echelon of operation. And I'm glad to see that you all are trying your best to keep up and put on the correct airs. Maybe all of the wasted effort to train Max has not been wasted. Maybe it's been slipped into you through various means. Come sit next to us. Grasses again, the last party. Oh, it was so deliciously over the top. There was just all of the great quality donors from your Sapphic friend, Ms. Rossi. She invited you as well, didn't she?
I was otherwise occupied.
Oh, yes, that's right. So you denied the invitation. That's understandable. Busy is busy, and I'm sure that almost making the ends meet and requires a lot of effort on your part. Lovely ensemble, by the way. I'm not sure if I told you this or not, but it definitely suits what you're expected to wear.
This is not my first formal engagement.
No, of course not. No, I didn't mean to insinuate anything other than you're doing your best, and your best suits you. You could, after all, be, this workaday lad. And while it's a glorious, well-made suit, it is something.
Just something I threw on last minute because I wasn't at home and having access to my full wardrobe.
Oh, that is a shame. All of that traipsing and day-to-day and night-to-night work you must do to keep up appearances.
And yet she makes it work.
Yes, she does. It looks as one would expect. Sit next to us. It's going to be Grasses and myself. I don't know if you all remember Deltona. He was one of the more presentable men of Milwaukee. Unfortunately, things happen. Well, I believe that Grassus has a plan that will ensure that what befell Daytonus won't befall any of us. If we can have your support, after all, even despite your failings, I'm sure that common sense is very much something that you all can wrap your arms around. And the largesse that you all were granted in having a domain for yourself, especially such a large domain, problematic, crime-ridden, and poor though it is, it sets a precedent that that could be for everyone. Every kindred of note or every clan of note could very well have a space that we could police ourselves. Can you imagine what we could do if we were able to, for instance, in your case, young Mr. Hamilton, if you had a Maula or a group of Maulas who could properly teach you not only how to greedily pursue money to try to appeal to the humans around you, but a better way to be a upstanding, reputable member of kindred society far sooner than I'm sure that your financial support of criminal kindred wouldn't have happened at all. I'm sure that it wasn't anything that you directly were doing or allowing to be done, but maybe it just slipped your mind because you weren't properly trained in how to be a upstanding member of kindred society. And that could have been different if the Primogen Council had been here. If we could have put our hands on you and led you in a direction that would have made it.
Yes, it's a shame the council didn't exist before then. And it's a good thing now that I'm part of it. Don't you think?
It is a very good thing. We always wanted to do our best and repair the errors of previous judgment. After all, this is a privilege. Some of us deserve it, and some of us can be taught to earn it if we are but understanding enough to open our eyes and realize what really is at stake. Because it's not the past.
I'm
Storyteller.
sorry. Errors of previous judgment? Whose judgment? Previous judgment, that is.
Yes, of course. The past, previous judgment that allows such things to happen.
Right, but whose judgment? Certainly not yours.
Exactly. You were saying something, OOC?
Yes, I wanted to know if Aaron knew anything about this particular kindred that he's speaking with, like any rumors or history that they've had, anything notable that they've done that he might be able to jab back at. Because he knows full well what's going on here, and he wants to take a crack back if he can. But out of character, I don't know who this person is, really.
Lucina, the former Primogen and now new Primogen of the Toreador, the primary Primogen. To put it lightly, she was a child bride. She was embraced out of lust. Her artistic merit didn't exist up until the dawning of the 19th century, where fashion became a thing. Up until that point, well, it's anyone's guess what becomes of child brides.
Would he know anything about, like, the kind of stuff that she's been up to?
She's fairly public, so most of it is actually out there. Small gatherings, tasteful salons, and strangely enough, fashion shows that she's been bringing to the city to add to the revenue and coffers of the city as a whole. She's, strangely enough, for the preconceived notion of a Toreador, far too skilled at growing investments. creating money out of thin air, relatively.
Okay. I might be able to work with that. Continuing character, Aaron will reply, well, I'm glad that you're offering to extend your wisdom in enlightening us, as you seem to imply. It would be great to ensure that we don't have any further lapses in judgment. We wouldn't, after all, want someone to, I don't know, embrace someone as a child? I'm sorry, hold on one second. Out of character again. You said she was embraced as a child bride. Is that what you said?
Yeah, very much so.
Okay, back in character. We wouldn't want to, for example, just embrace anyone willy-nilly like a child bride now, would we?
No, we would not like to do that again. After all, lightning can only be struck once, if it's to be of any value. And once you have the prototype and the best version of a thing, why make the same mistakes? Speaking of which, your brewery. I understand that you've had a huge increase in terms of those kindred who are partaking of beer. How are you able to keep the facility so clean?
Great secret.
I see. Well, it's good to see that, you all are putting your skills together. Millicent's manual skills, Amalia's alternative lifestyle, and your avaricious rush towards obtaining money. I'm just trying to figure out, where does Charlotte fit in all of this? I'm sure that that the manual aspect of things are well in hand with Millicent, who, having another clearly suited to such menial manual task, seems a bit of a oversight, maybe? Unless, of course, you're staking her in the yard. You wouldn't be doing something so cruel as that.
Lily kind of looks at her. It must be absolutely exhausting being you. Really.
It is. Excellence does not come easy. Excellence is not something that is for the faint of heart. But Sid, I'd love to hear more about you all besides what everyone else is saying.
My God, this is the 4th time you've asked us. Yes, let's go already. We can't have you keep sounding like a broken record now.
All the best songs are played back to back, over and over again. My good friend DJ Barth takes requests. Did you know that most of the playlists are picked in advance for what the music interludes throughout his broadcast? Almost as if someone is carefully and slowly setting the theme music for the night that everybody dances to.
That is typically how it is done.
Typically. And as she gets you closer to Grasses, who has a full-on neck brace underneath his wide-collared silk shirt, his overly large, double-breasted suit coat laying open, exposing just how soft he actually is, as well as how moist he actually is. The silk sticking to all of that dead flesh around the area where a belly button should be. And he croaks up, I haven't had the opportunity to properly mend. It's Good to see you. Yes, it was quite a party. I did inform them. I did ask after you did invite them, and they were too busy, unfortunately, to properly potentially respond to whatever invite you might have sent their way. But I do have a few pictures I might be able to show them later. And he looks from her to you all. Yes, quite. And you see that this dance of pecking order and status is happening at various spaces around the room. And while JW Blue is standing, resting against the wall, watching the entire room, as it were, the prince has not arrived just yet. And JW looks in your direction and watches who you all sit with, and looks across towards Primogen Regent Green and her associate, and he looks towards the newly arrived individual. Long, lanky hair, pale disposition, looks stereotypically like all of those humans who pretend to be a vampire and are often the bread and butter of the blood freaks that many kindred feed on. He levers himself up off the wall, finally standing to his full height. His well-worn but still well-maintained blue suit ever present. Then he walks through the space, hands pocket. Now that he's actually on the move, he's purposely avoiding eye contact, purposely avoiding being the subject of anyone. Oh, hi, Jake! Just puts his head down and moves across the floor and starts speaking in hushed tones to the young girl who just arrived. Finally placing a gnarled, knobby finger directly into her upper pectoral, jabbing it 3 or 4 times. Whatever they're saying, whatever specifically he's saying, is hitting her as if they were actual blows. And you see her eyes growing wider and wider, and a little bit of vitae-tinged liquid welling up in her eyes. And she just shakes her head and sniffs. And you her leather jacketed sleeve to wipe away some of the moisture on her face. And he turns around and walks back to his position on the opposite side of the room, where he can see everybody and everybody can see him. And he waits. She takes up a seat by herself nearest one of the plants that are around the room, folding her hands into her lap and her shoulders rounding forward some, and she's looking left and right and just keeping an eye on the other kindred present in the room.
Does she look familiar at all?
Were you in and around the emo goth culture?
Probably not so much, considering her upbringing. She may have, run into them in her explorations, but probably not so much, like, actually hung out.
So not someone who easily stands out in that crowd. In fact, she perfectly blends in with that crowd. But if you have attended any of those sorts of bars and venues throughout the city, then yeah, she's a face that you would have seen fairly often. Everyone has their type, as it were. And moments pass into minutes, and minutes pass into nearly 15, 20. The conversation is taking place with the war of power and prestige nearly in full swing. Lots of hushed conversations and being very annoying and scratchy and occasional added from grasses as Lucina picks and pokes and probes and prods, and it is a never-ending drip of acid, much like the Norse torture of having one singular drop drip on your head. Except for this actually burns. She actually picks at moments and things that, one, you all are a little sensitive over, and two, is beneath anyone to actually bring attention to. Yet here she is laying truths out, laying allegations and rumors and gossips out for you. Namely that, well, Millie is a spinster and she's feeding on her rich sugar daddy to operate her business. And the fact that she would stoop, which is stepping up onto a step stool, to be focused on destroying the world around her with her beer and addicting kindred to it somehow. It's a miracle, but you know, we all have our thing. The fact that Aaron could have been far more successful if he had better training and maybe a second bite of the Agoji apple, maybe even not associating with that known rebel Kai for as long as he did. Maybe he's not really the Ventrue that he's assumed to be. Maybe he is in fact one of the rabble and he's just masquerading as a Ventrue. Everything else about him and his boyfriend Raiden says as such. And the fact that once a Hakata, always a Giovanni, and that everyone keeps it in the family. And on, and on, and on. What has only been 15, almost 20 minutes feels as if you all have been at it easily 4, 5 hours.
Amazing.
The one thing about Millie is she remembered being seen and not heard when she was first with her husband, and that's how she learned how the business was run. So this whole time, even though it really hurts not saying anything back, she is going to listen to what's being said and file it away, because most of it's pretty hilarious. About how wrong people are about them, but at the same time, she's learning valuable truths about what people actually think about them. But at some point during this, she's going to walk over to the young lady who was kind of embarrassed and see if she can engage with them and get them to move to their table, because she doesn't like to see people be picked on.
Noted. Would you be so kind as to roll your resolve and subterfuge? Or, if you're not going to grit it out and get up and walk across immediately and try to time it perfectly, use your composure and subterfuge. And while you're making that roll, Aaron, now, while this barrage, this carefully attenuated, consistent, constant, passive attack is underway, what is it that you are attempting to do or do?
Aaron will turn and ask Mel, I'm not going to bother engaging with those conversations. I'd much rather try and have a more productive conversation. So I was thinking maybe we should try and find some of the Tremere. There's some things I'd like to discuss with them potentially. Do you have any interest in joining me, or do you have your own agendas you'd like to pursue?
No, that is amazing. Let's do it.
All right then. And Aaron will attempt to find the Premier here, if there are any ranking members of the Premier.
Regent Crane.
Yeah, exactly so. So crossing the distance and escaping, would you be so kind as to roll? First and foremost, your composure and either politics or subterfuge.
I'm rolling this?
If you're rolling for you both, you would do it with a +1.
Okay. So if I do that, that would be a dice pool of 5. Al, does that sound good to you?
Mine would be 5 before any bonuses.
So if I'm not rolling for both of us, are we rolling individually?
As the initiator of the idea, you can always make it so that Mal would be the prime person, and you'd be assisting her in weathering the storm and breaking free of it. Which means she can get a +1 if she's going to roll for you both. Or you guys can roll separately.
To you.
Oh no. What's that?
Up to you.
I was going to say the same thing, damn it. I guess we'll just roll separately.
Alright.
All right.
That's fine.
At least one of us will succeed, right? Right?
Right? Right, absolutely.
If they die, they die.
Woohoo!
Weaklings die. Big deal.
Everything dies. Not every man truly lives.
I'm too unimportant. They don't even notice me leave.
Oh. So there is a certain wherewithal that every being has, a certain drive towards personal sanity, personal safety, and that's what takes precedence in nearly every regard. Save when the very foundations of what you are pulled away lightly. It's that old axiom of a frog in a nice cool pot of water with the heat slowly being turned up moment by moment by moment. The thing with Lucina is that she's absolutely foundationally surgical. It starts off as the petty annoyances that you might find on a high school smoking quad, and slowly through first attempting to tune it out, it grows more intense and more specific. And in that white noise that you're trying to ignore, that you're trying to grin and bear it, it's only when that razor thin acupuncture pin strikes a nerve that you realize how much of yourself has been laid open in the careful dissection of not only what you are, the perceived notion of what you are, but your hidden, kept to yourself moments of weakness, things that you wouldn't make a joke about because, while yes, it's laughable overall, it strikes a nerve. And she is slowly carefully through non-stop attrition hit those nerves several times. With each of you, be so kind as to subtract the outcome of your roll versus hers in superficial willpower damage.
So 5 superficial willpower damage for me? Is that what I'm getting?
Yes. She literally picked apart the very foundations of what it means to be a successful venture. She picked apart what the actual Agoge is, and the fact that no venture worth their salt would have ever allowed a failure to the Agoge to not only simply live, but to exist past it. She literally hit you in the smallest, most minute vent port to your Death Star. Because there's no way that anyone outside of the clan should be able to even hint at what an Agoge is. No one outside of the clan should be able to assail your dignitas, because it's not something that's shared outside of the clan. Yet she was able to, without saying it directly, all but draw a picture of it. She was able to undermine your value in your own dignitas, because which Ventru have you actually helped into power? Which Ventru have you bothered to tutor and ensure that they bring respect to the clan? All very important parts of dignitas.
Okay, was that for me too, or
Yes.
just them two? Okay, so then I took 3 superficial willpower damage. How does that work?
Much like you spending it, except for it's dwindled
So,
sailing.
so Aaron has a maximum of 4, and he took 5. So,
Yep.
does that mean I take 1 aggravated as well?
Yeah.
The fuck? God damn, that stings.
And it's as everyone gets up and begins to escape the immediate sphere of attack, that you realize that she's not only surgical and a sniper with assailing you all, she also has in her arsenal a relative to the intercontinental ballistic missile. She begins to prattle and murmur and get attention drawn to, oh my goodness, I know they wouldn't betray us, but they might betray their own code members. Look at how they're disparate and won't refuse to. And as those murmurs are starting, people are looking and following your steps across the floor, and she stops. Cold, dead, stops. Dead to rights, openly able to be obliterated, because yeah, it very much does look like as if you all broke ranks before the prince even arrived. First you sat with them, then you went running away from your alliance of Toreador and Ventru. But she stops when Millie brings back the waif. Instead of just going and sitting with her, she lifts her up and walks her back to the table where you all were sitting. And Lucina stops. And Lucina looks at the emo guy, clearly unplanned kindred, because she's not sitting with the Avengers, she's not sitting with the Toreador, she's not sitting with the Premier, she's not sitting with the Gangrel, she's by herself, isolated. And when Millie brings her back to the table, instead of going to sit with her or stay with her, Lucina stops, cold dead, and an honest smile drifts to her lips. And she reaches across and rests a hand on the young kindred's forearm. Oh dear. I'm sorry you've had such a rough time. We all miss Hope. But it's good to see that you've been actually as well as possible. Have you been offered an aperitif yet? In fact, you know what I insist? Let me go grab it. And she gets up and heads to what amounts to a wet bar, retrieve one of the drops of blood for the young, dark-haired, pale kindred that Millie brought back to the table. In essence, you all are looking down the barrel of a large bore revolver, and you know that the next shell at that distance would be impossible to miss. And the person who has you dead to rights, an easy shot, an easy kill, does not pull the trigger. There is an immediate 180-degree turn. And as Millie and her associate, her new friend, her new would-be potential contact sits, your three associates who were gathered in your wing, rallying behind your banner, you all take a glance towards them. It's hard not to, because they're staying far enough back to not draw attention to themselves, but close enough to hear and interact if they can. Most of them are looking as if they've been beaten, as if someone put them into a pool of water and pulled them out and beat them with bamboo. Small, consistent, constant barrage, and the welts are across their skin, and their skin is broken and abraded, and there's not much they can do because their skin is still nice and wet and slick, somehow adding to the strikes that they've been victim to. They look as damaged as you do, plus more. They literally just watched and heard and bore witness to the repugnancy of power. They watched and bore witness to the constant barrage and assailing of you all, and not just you all. There are others thrown in there from around the room. They watched and were struck by many of the blows that landed against you. That landed against the Giovanni incest. That the Hakata are literally all just Giovanni finally making it truthfully known that, well, the Venture are only concerned about money, don't really care about anything or anyone, and ruin their own dignitas with their own average nightly behaviors. That unity is something that no one is truly willing to bleed for. Everyone talks a good game, but everyone looks out for themselves. The same mistakes of the past that led the city to be destroyed. And it's hard hearing that. It's hard seeing that. It's hard being able to refute that. And they look exactly like people have been taken through the ringer. Had their eyes incidentally opened through the barrage and brightness of all the missile fire, and are somehow more scarred for having survived it. And as you all make it across the room, as Aaron and Mal close the distance on Imogen Regent Green, who is in a hushed conversation with her right-hand man, a tall, older gentleman with balding pate, looks like a country pediatrician. He's not wearing a white coat, but his tie, the knot is a little wider than it should be. The shirt's a little more utilitarian. You can tell that it's actually probably a short sleeve shirt underneath the blazer. The pants are close in color to the blazer, though you can tell that the pants were clearly worn more and washed more, and so there's a faded look to what's supposed to be a nice standard two-piece. And his shoes. His shoes looks like the sort of person that can only buy shoes every 6 years and wears the same pair of shoes every day for 6 years straight, standing in the same place, moving in the same path, walking back and forth in the same way, doing what they can with the polish every other weekend, but the age shows. And Miss Green, Primogen Regent Green, she adjusts her glasses down her nose as you all come closer, stopping a conversation almost immediately.
Good evening, Regent Green. I don't believe we've met before, so allow me to introduce myself. I am Aaron Hamilton, the one of the new True Primogen.
I'm aware. Y'all got 3 seats on the council. Now, I've been doing the math, and it just don't add up. Luckily, if what was easily overheard is true, y'all ain't as aligned as y'all supposed to be, which is a good thing. Now, it ain't usually done, but I don't see it being a problem adopting y'all of sorts. Because you know what this is. She motions offhandedly with her right hand. All of us being here, you see any judges present? You see any of the newbie here? You see any of Prince Decca's little goon boys and girls? Y'all ain't consider that, have y'all?
No, we did not.
And Prince Decca ain't here himself, now is he?
No.
Yeah. This is a way for us to pick ourselves apart, to create fractions within ourselves. So that when the time comes to pick out domains, we too busy fighting each other to really carve the city up so that we can get what we need. But we ain't falling for that. And she purposely rests her hand on the chair where her second is sitting, not on him, not touching him, but just resting it on the chair that she knows exactly where he is at all times. So yeah, there's strength and unity. And this is designed to make sure that there is none. Because, and I'm not ashamed to say this, I will say this before anyone or anything. If we already have judges, and we already have a newbie, the fuck we need a Primogen Council for? Huh? Why not make the judges the Primogen? Why not make the newbie? Oh well, technically you all are the newbie, aren't you? Primogen. But he split the power of each clan because he knows that we can't stick together. He knows that we will make this experiment fail. And then he's justified in doing what he has been doing for all of these years. And you motherfuckers just playing right into that. JW Blue was right about all of y'all.
If it can be helped, I'd prefer not to play into it. And if there's no choice, then I'd prefer to come out on top. Or at least with my head still attached.
Well,
to that end, we have come to you. And to your friend here as well. I don't believe we've met before.
yeah, it's probably better if you don't. Dr. Mortis. That just says. Yeah, like I said. And she looks over her shoulder at him. Probably better if you don't. We ain't doing that. We ain't breaking the vote. You ain't making friends and allies. You're either gonna be a friend and you're gonna be an ally, or you can go mosey yourself back on over there to that Toreador, Ventru, Blue Blood, Rose thing y'all got going.
So you're not interested in an alliance?
I am.
Or at least...
I very well am, but there's ways that this shit needs to happen. And that ain't it. There's no Tremere without me, and there's no Tremere that is not me. We are one and the goddamn thing. He don't exist. And she looks from your shoes, up your pants, up to your eyes, and back. If what they say about you and that Mr. Thompson is true, I already know you got it in you to work with and to pay for others. We, the Warlocks of Milwaukee, despite what the Grand Chancery of Chicago says, are proud enough to have our own. And that is, everything flows to one point, and I am that point. I don't want to beat around the bush. I don't want us to play this game of whose wick is bigger than whose wick. But I want us to have an understanding so that we are on the same page no matter what. I have no problem either working for you to accomplish some of your goals or having you as an ally. That choice is up to you though, because I don't really need much. No one is gonna fuck with me and mine because I understand how to keep me and mine. You know what I mean? Dr. Mortius, if you don't listen here. Now we just got through talking about this. You are just simply him. You supposed to remain as quiet as possible and take notes. I don't see you writing. Oh, yes. And he fumbles in his blazer pocket and pulls out a leather-bound book. And it's not a journal, it's not a notepad, it is an honest-to-God bound book. And he pulls out a ink pen that he has screwed the top off of and to screw it onto the bottom, and he has to pull what would normally be the holder that holds it in place, and he pulls that up and he begins writing in black. Green. U.S. mine. That's Mr. Hamilton. Oh, that Mr. Hamilton. Yes, that Mr. Hamilton. And this lovely young lady is representative for the Hakata, the Giovanni, the family. The necromancers. Necrophiliacs, yes.
I don't want to
so confused with necrophiliacs. Like, what? Ew.
I mean, technically speaking, any two kindred in a relationship would also be a necrophiliac, but
good.
I digress.
Amalia will just look up at Aaron, terrified that he just said that.
He skips a space, and you can tell that he's writing that as a footnote or an addendum, and then gets back to what he was writing before. And while that's happening, across the room, Millie, it is clear that the young kindred is a known factor in the city. And overhearing what Lucina said as she got up and moved away to get a drop for the young kindred, what, if anything, would you do to this?
I am not going to assume to know you or know how you feel. While I have also suffered my own losses, everybody's loss is different and everybody feels differently about their losses. What I wanted in this moment was to let you know that whether I know you well or not, there are things that are right in the world and there are things that are wrong in the world, and whatever you were being told that put tears in your eyes was probably the wrong thing to have been said to you. Nobody should be alone in this world that we have that encompasses the night. No kindred is an island to themselves, despite what Autarchus or Anarchs would have you think.
No, they're not. But JW was right. I don't want to admit it, but he was right. That's not fair.
What's not fair, darling?
Why do I have to be the primogenitor for the clan list? I don't want to be here, but somebody has to do it.
Heavy is the head that wears the crown, obviously. But, again, what I want in this moment is to offer you some small amount of comfort so that, hopefully, you will see the power that you have in this moment or be willing to work with me to shore up your own power.
Yeah, I've got the power to be a target.
Yeah, but that's the point. If I am extending my hand to you, and the hand of those that are with me, then you are no longer by yourself as a target. Granted, larger targets are much easier to hit, but they also have a tougher shell.
I'm not tough. I don't want. Look, I don't care how kind Lucinda is, and it's nice that she's been looking out for me, but it's just everyone. I know what they're thinking. They're thinking that I'm the reason why Hope is dead. I know what they're thinking. I'm the reason why the Chicago Courtney got their territory. I know what everyone's thinking. This stupid, thin-blooded, clanless Cato. And I don't know how long I can take that. I don't want to be here. This is fucking bullshit.
You know, at one point we thought the Earth was flat. See how wrong that was. Ideas change and grow. So, again, I'm not going to pressure you to do anything you don't wish to do, and I see you're fairly distraught by all of this, but just give it a chance for me. How about that? Sit close and see if maybe, just maybe, we can make it be a little bit better for you. And then you can decide after tonight what you want to do. But for now, don't let them see you sweat. Don't give one good fuck as to what they have to say about you, because they all have things they're trying to hide themselves, I'm sure. Just as much as they talk about you, or me, or even Lucinda, because she's not immune to being gossiped about.
You think
any of us here could be a target.
You'd think she was. After that party that everyone says she set people up at, nothing stuck to her.
Yeah?
Yeah, the power...
Well, that's because she has a very good PR person. Looking at the young lady, hold on, let me see what I can just. I just want to give her just a little boost, some sort of confidence in this moment. Don't know how I can do it. Well, I got resilience, but I don't think that would help her. I hate to say it, but I have gaslighting. Would that help?
It very well can. You can potentially convince her that she's not as much of a waste as she believes she is. You can potentially convince her that it is worth her while to take the slings and arrows and keep track of who fires them so that she can get them later. You could gaslight her to thinking that her reticence to flee from harm.
Okay, well then, yeah. I am going to do that.
Alright. Sounds like a plan.
I'm going to
Go ahead and make that roll, and it's
bit.
24 after the hour. And we'll be back at 34 after the hour. Let's take a quick tick.
Oh, good to see
I
you.
know gaslighting is under subterfuge, I think. No, it's persuasion. So it's persuasion and what? Before we leave?
Manipulation.
Got it.
Welcome back, guys. How we doing?
Yay.
That cough startled me way more than it should have.
Yeah, it's just wet enough to be dry. So, we'll let the band play on a few moments longer to really get back. Thoughts, concerns. So, thoughts, concerns about the interactions thus far and the shaping up of Milwaukee hierarchical structures.
We've already lost.
No. We are leading from behind.
Is that what they call backseat driving?
Yes.
Well, everybody needs to get somewhere. The how of which is, anyone's guess. And you guys are heading off to show solidarity with the Tremere. That's always a good thing. Nothing ever goes wrong with showing solidarity with the Tremere.
I mean, they're practically my cousins.
That definitely
Technically, if you want to get real technical with it, they're the cousins of the Zamish, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, there was some chicanery involved, to say the least.
Chicanery is being generous.
Millie, you back yet? Hey. Okay. So while you all discussed with Primogen Regent Green, with that statement sitting there boldly, it's the equivalent of someone, you're going in to begin negotiations to start a contract and you're worrying about the fine print, and they literally slap down just a blank piece of paper with a line drawn in an X. How is you all are going to respond to that? have decided on in this moment?
Aaron is going to just continue ahead with the conversation then. I see that you're someone who is rather straightforward, so I'll just get to the point. I would like an alliance between us, yes, and I am willing to work for it if necessary. I understand that you're already well established, so it's not so much that you need something from me as much as I would like to have the benefits of an alliance with you. Why you specifically is more of a personal reason, as I have a vested interest already in the dealings of the Tremere. I've already sponsored one coterie of Tremere who are conducting some research on Vitae, and I hope to see some success with them, but I'd like to expand my options, expand my investments, as it were. And I find the work of the Tremere in general to be quite fascinating. I'm aware that you don't share your secrets of thaumaturgy with those outside of the clan, and I do not ask for those secrets. It's more the knowledge that I'm interested in, or rather the possibilities that it will present.
So let me understand this. You're trying to put the hoodoo on somebody and you think that we're going to be your mother.
I'm having a hard time hearing you, storyteller.
So you going to want some hoodoo put on somebody that is pulling against you, and you think that we'd make it easier. Is that what you after? You want?
No, actually.
Really? So what knowledge do you think that we might be able to share with you? You already got your tenterhooks into some of the lesser skilled and just lesser members of the Warlocks. So what exactly? Now think on this. You ain't got to answer now, but you do got to answer.
I'd prefer not to answer now, though I do have an answer. It's more that, well, the walls have ears, as they say. I'd rather have a more private conversation about my personal beliefs, if we are to get into that.
Oh, we gonna get into that and more, but as long as you have an answer in mind, that will do just about right. And with that, she actually stands up. Now, Aaron is not a small man by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, he's outright lumberingly tall in comparison. Miss Green looks imposing somehow. The small shift in perspective and distance, with her standing instead of seated, looking up at you. You are close enough to smell ozone about her. Drifting through that ozone is several hints of cinnamon, there's a little bit of clove, there's a hint of shea butter, and there's something else that gives you the idea of something fresh. You're not sure exactly what that is, but there's something there that gives the air and sense of freshness, like the all outdoors of a temperate summer day. Like you could see the waves breaking against the shoreline. You can smell the floor filling the air. You can feel something wildly, naturally open and fresh. It's a weird sensation. If you didn't know better, you'd think that it would be your sense that grants you the ability to find the perfect victim. That seventh sense adding to your sense of smell and taking in the details of one's life. You'd almost say that's what it was, but it's not quite that. It's something very close. I do have to ask whether this is coming from you, like you say, personally, or is this a back door with blue bloods over there?
This is my own personal desire. It has nothing to do with the other blue bloods.
And is it connected with what y'all doing down there at that brewery?
It can be, if you're interested.
Well, it has been a very long time since I've had the opportunity to take a nice, cold, refreshing beer. And it mean more than just ash and dirt in my mouth. So I'm interested in what you all might be slinging out of that gin joint of yours. But before I start salivating, and she looks at you, Mal. This isn't any at all connected with your family members.
I just like stories. I'm a folklorist. That's what I studied at school.
Folklore, huh? That is a lovely response. And credit where credit is due. That is the most unbelievable sort of thing to hear from another member of the blood. But it don't exactly answer what I asked. This thing of yours, and she pushes her glasses up her nose and looks from Aaron to you, back to Aaron, and then finally back to you all, glimpsing and glancing past your shoulder to where Mal is with the thin Wayne Kendra she pulled into your table. I don't like hurting people's feelings. Their bodies and their souls, yes, but their feelings, no, never. And I generally never ever play with someone's feelings. And so I have found that it is best to put all the cards on the table at the earliest convenience, because while you may know my cards and I may know yours, doesn't mean I understand how you are going to play. I may be playing beard whist and you may be playing pinochle, or I may be playing 7-card hold'em and you may be playing blackjack, but either way, long as we can see each other's cards and work out that we are in fact playing a card game, fair trade ain't never theft. So to keep from potentially overstepping, putting you in a situation where you may not be able to answer honestly and leads me to believe that you may be holding back a falsehood, I will simply accept that your silence and your attempt to sidestep the question means that this is in fact a... And she rubs her index finger against the tip of her nose sort of situation. And you don't have to say any more now, because you might be afraid that others might take certain things certain ways, but I can assure you, I will only take it the most deadly of ways if I am allowed to. I don't appreciate it. I don't enjoy it. I have gotten enough of that in the boys club that is my own clan. It's the reason why I insist of being the central joint to tie things together. It avoids most of that. Connor's other child, broken though she is, being banished to Walkerton, leaves me in a particularly prickly situation as the child of the only member of us who figured out how to break the bonds of blood and the oathings of blood. I have a lot of pressure pointed in my general direction. So I have to keep things not only above board, but as firm as the word of God. If I don't cotton to or tolerate and as she's winding up for the big pitch, JW Blue leans up off the walls, looks at his watch. You motherfuckers, y'all gotta be careful, because here comes Prince Decker of Milwaukee. Keep the applause to a dull roar and keep your opinions to yourself lest you are called on. And sure enough, the back door, the door that leads to the service area of the building, into the kitchen and the bars that are elsewhere, opens. And Prince Decker and the judges enter. Typically, as it has been, the judges sat in a position of power equal to the prince in most rulings and understandings of the law. They're as close to the Privy Council as there had been in Milwaukee for 30 years. Him entering with them at his back sends all sorts of messages through the gathered kindred. Some take an unneeded breath, others make sure that they don't have any hidden weaponry on them. Some unconsciously step further away from the nearest kindred to them. The practice being light and slack is a new thing, and old habits die hard. And once he enters and pauses there with the judges at his back, DJ Barr speaks up, his mellifluous voice that has filled the night air. Presenting Prince Decker of Milwaukee and the Primogen Council of Cream City. And the scene starts clapping. Not a slow clap, but a clap of having a magic trick done for her, the unveiling of something. It is everything in you when she begins clapping to not simply clap so that she doesn't look in your area. It is everything in you to fight the urge to follow along, as so many others in the room begin doing exactly that, keeping time with her 1 and 3 tempo clap. Everyone following along, even Grasses begins clapping offbeat on the 2 and the 4 while she's on the 1 and the 3. And strangely, through the sleight of hand and mental domination that Millie worked against the young kindred there, she begins clapping as well. She stands to her feet, still afraid of being put into a spotlight, but she stands and is willing to be counted as maybe the lowest one here, but still of equal note of being inside the Primogen Council. After all, she's here for a reason. She speaks for those who don't have a voice, and she has an ally. And instead of doing what comes natural, shrinking and shirking away and stepping away from the kindred, she steps closer to Millie. Primogen Regent Green, clearly having been victim of the social pressures, sighs as Mortius fumbles and puts the book on the nearest table and holds the pen and awkwardly begins clapping knuckle to palm so he doesn't drop the pen. And she begins clapping. 1, 2, 4. Miss Decker wakes to the claps reach their crescendo. And the question for each of you: in this show of support for the prince, and by extension the judges, what is it that you all do?
Amalia will default to what she has always been taught, which is to bow until, everyone has walked by.
Mel will kind of keep her not raucous clapping, but like polite, because she remembers that the prince does not like to be gushed over or sycophanted after. So it's polite because everybody else is doing it, but she's not gonna. Yeah.
Aaron will give a soft golf clap.
And as the clapping reaches a crescendo, just right as it's teetering over the edge into perhaps too much, Decker clears his voice and raises his hand palm out to make the luring sang with his offhand as he moves forward into the room. The judges, remaining by the door, look towards one another, take in their eyes and gaze sweeping the room, much like the Sphinx itself, almost as if they are taking tally of who's doing what, how vigorously, and who's standing with whom, and who. In short, they're openly, quietly, and silently judging the room, gauging from appearance the value of the book before them, the value of the story that is there to be told. For 30 plus years, the judges have had to decide the continued existence, how punitively someone might be instructed, and who had the opportunity to continue feeding. Because while the larger, more violent responses of judgment is what everyone talks about, everyone forgets that one of the standard punitive actions is the removal of the fangs. Can you imagine going a month, a week, or in some cases, in the very extreme cases, a year without being able to actually engage in the kiss, being forced to feed from the dregs, some bag, some fractionated swill, or worse yet, having someone do it for you? You get the blood secondhand shotgunned into your being from some other kindred's lips, or worse, because of a transgression. Deny that which makes you most you. Kicks, the sinking of fangs, the slow, enjoyable, pleasurable moment of becoming one with your victim in every way that matters for you, having that taken away. Or worse yet, having it taken away and you forced to remain this side of the veil, kept in a near torpid state, watching as the world continues by, until you eventually drift into that purgatory, becoming nothing more than the beast incarnate, watching everything that you build or cared after be destroyed by you in a matter of seconds. Their judgments have changed immortality. It has course-corrected those who were pulling too far in one direction or the other. It has maintained the prince's praxis because their rulings carry the weight of his word. And they are openly, silently judging each of the kindred present. Prince Decker moves into the room, and his first order of business, instead of seating or sitting and the provided seat at the head of the room, begins walking through the kindred, the gathered members of the body politic of Milwaukee. Thank you for that, Bard. And then I'm sure I owe you thanks as well, JW. And he pauses next to the kindred that Millie brought over to Lucina, crosses blue blood and rose table. There's space set aside for them. He looks at the three that you all brought in and doesn't say anything, but he rests his hand on the kindred that Millie brought over. And he leans in close enough where his voice doesn't carry very far at all. I forgive you for Honor's death. May your service to Milwaukee as a whole make that in fact true. Don't fail me again. Permingen members, one and all, this is our first official gathering. The power bequeathed to you is a responsibility to the city as a whole. Many of you have beset JW and members of the Anubi with questions pertaining why this, why now, why not one member of the Blue Bloods, why not one member of the Roses, why not one Tremere or Gangrel, or worse yet, and he points toward the kindred he just greeted, why a representative for the Kate and Dustbowl, why 3 Nosferatu. I believe that while correct and needed at the time, that we have outgrown what we were. There are La Sombra sitting right now in the halls of power in our capital city. There are Hakata who control more territory south of the Red Line in our capital city than any other clan. The Lupine have fallen into an easy peace with us. They prowl and stalk our corners and manage to not find where we rest during the day. They beset our city without disturbing the peace. Our hunts for them in defense of their action have been more and more unsuccessful as of late. And the troubles from the Knights of St. Judas all but drying up recently, as if they were initially preparing for an assault. We braced, we counted the seconds, and nothing came. Yet, because of how insular we are as a city, we've been cut off from many of the growths, many of the moments of wealth that falls easily into other cities. So, there is your why. I have done everything that I have ever set my mind to protect our city, including protect it from ourselves. At times, and loss necessitate that we move forward together. In first order of business, instead of being one singular castle against all of the evils in the world, we will be multiple nations working together for the betterment of all. To that end, each enclave of permission will be given a domain to police with the assistance of the Anubi at the behest of the Anubi, working together for the city. And this is our moment to decide such things, to lay the foundations of those plans into effect. Are there any questions?
Millie just kind of looks at the others to see who's going to be the first idiot, I guess. Because she's trying not to be. It's almost like he expects questions. So to not ask any would be a bad thing, but at the same time, again, she doesn't want to be the first idiot. So she's just kind of like looking around at the others.
And the kindred that you brought into your confidence, the kindred that you bolstered and propped up, raises her hand. Your Highness, my liege, my lord, I didn't want to be here. I don't want to be here. It's too much responsibility. But I'm willing to be here solely because she rests her hands on Millie's forearm. I said that I'm worthy of being here and that I can speak and that she has my back and that we have an alliance. So I'd like to, instead of it be based on our plans. One, because technically I don't have one. The Nosferatu don't accept me, and because I'm not as afflicted as they are, and so because I don't have a clan, and because I represent the the clans and the Dustborn, is it possible, maybe, that we have domains spaces, property, that we can like sync up with people that we kind of trust, or that we might be able to trust, or just I think that the clanless and the Dustborn, while we may not have much, and we will never have much, we don't want to take anything from anyone else, but I think that because they already have domain, that perhaps maybe we could have a block or two, or maybe they'd be willing to have us in their domain. Because again, the Nosferatu don't accept me, and they I think maybe. So you are requesting to lease space within the Capitol Hill area? Yeah, maybe right next to it. No, there's a nice restaurant across from the church right there on 27. It's not really a real restaurant, and we don't eat, but it's close, and there's already a presence because a lot of the Dustborn go to the family worship center anyway. So I'm sorry, my lord.
Millie, seeing as she's struggling, will very carefully, aware that she's being watched, put her hand out and touch the other's hand and just give it a small squeeze to get her to stop, and raise her voice above that, calling the attention to herself, as stupid as this is going to be. In for a penny, in for a pound. Millie goes, my lord, the details are not at this current moment important. They can be worked out later between the Duskborn and ourselves, if that is permitted, so that we don't take up any further of your precious time.
Very well. I look forward to hearing your final plan and what you all intend. After all, if the signs are to be believed, the clanless, the thin-blooded, the Dustborn are heralds of the apocalypse. And while many of us believe that just idle-minded superstition, associating with them did cost me my honor, cost me my hope. Be that as it may, are there any other questions? And Lucina speaks up. Prince Decker, you have been far kinder than this city deserves. Far kinder than many of this room deserve. Your leniency, despite all of those who test their boundaries, is a treasure to us all. Your firm hand has kept Milwaukee from falling the way of Gary, or Indianapolis, or Springfield. And I'm sure that your vision as to what we are supposed to be, as varied as we are, will lead us straight and true as your vision has led us to this moment. I don't want to speak for the entirety of the Toreador, because as you notice and as you realize, Max, our other Toreador, isn't here. He couldn't be deigned to show up. He couldn't deign to respect your authority and honor you, nor his own coterie, in being here in this moment. I would like to officially apologize as a member of the Clan of the Roses for his negligence, and offer to take him under my wing so that such things don't happen again, so that he would not have to place himself into your lenient, careful hands, to keep him from making a poor example for the Clan of the Rose and for his coterie that you've already so graciously been lenient with. I would like to have it officially noted here that I will gladly take on the burden of his tutelage to spare him from testing your leniency. Unless any of his coterie members would like to take full responsibility for one of their own.
Mal will slightly elbow Aaron.
I suppose that would be my cue then. Member of his coterie, I would like to extend the offer to essentially do the same. Take him under our wing and ensure that he is properly trained and tutored in the proper governance of his estate, to ensure that he understands the expectations of him in our society.
That is a lovely idea. I wholeheartedly endorse Mr. Hamilton's offer to be fully responsible for the actions and training and education of Mac Devereaux, my lord. While I, as a Toreador, would gladly take one of my fellow members under my wing and take on the burden and labor and responsibility, it is so nice to see that after so many years amongst our kind, that Mr. Hamilton taking an honest look and value towards legal upstanding kindred instead of those who seek otherwise. Enough showboating, Lucina. The point is made. The venture, Aaron Hamilton, and as he's speaking, he looks towards the judges of the Capitol Hill coterie, will be responsible for the actions of Max Devereaux until, as a time, Primogen Devereaux is released fully into his own recognizance. I'm assuming that your offer includes your coterie member, Charlotte, as well.
Naturally.
Then you're the only member of your coterie assuming full responsibility.
Yes.
Motion carried. Lucina.
Thank you, my prince.
As you say thank you, Lucina smiles. A very honorable thing to do. I salute you, Primogen Hamilton. I salute you.
Aaron will ignore her.
And while Aaron focuses elsewhere, it is clear that a murmur is beginning as people are looking from Lucina to him, to the prince, back to the thin blood. The Nosferatu would like to petition for a portion of the Capitol Hill facility. It is a large thing, and they are such a small coterie and have their hands filled, teaching kindred how to be kindred after all, and teaching the thin bloods to be kindred after all. The maintenance of such an area is clearly beyond what they might be able to properly maintain. After all, it was a rebellion starting there that began this whole matter, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, one that we helped quell. Well, where were you during all that?
Not involving myself with Enoch, for sure. They accepted my offer to arrive. They were guests of myself and Lucina as a way to absolve themselves of the filth they had associated with her. Aaron is far more kind than he should be. Kind as we weren't able to breed out of him, but it has its uses. Shut up, you monster. And like the first domino falling after a year of setting up dominoes throughout the entirety of your house, one after the other, issues from the past begin rearing their head. The various members of the Primogen body begin jockeying openly for position. The other members of the Primogen begin stepping forward with their concerns, and a bulk of their concerns come down to the Capitol Hill coterie having so much domain, and an army of thin blood and Kados already in the making. And like the wires and string holding Damocles' sword over the throne being plucked, there is the dun 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 moment as the clamoring and whispers and the attacks grow in intensity, because the coterie from the outside, or from the gossip, even with the support of Lucina and Grassus, are growing an army. They have a domain that could house an army. When they've openly taken in the Dustborn and Thin Blood, who are already forming the base of their army. The eyes are upon you. The whispers and words being said out loud, and in most cases near full volume, creates a deluge of attention and activity pointed at Hodor. And yet, there is an ace up the hole you all have yet to tell anyone, or offer to anyone outside of your test group. And that is, you have a way to break the hold the circulatory system has on every Camarilla city where there's any number of venture. You have a way to immediately quell the slight uprising. The question is, do you use it? And while you all consider that, I look forward to your answers during our next episode. Thank you all for a lovely evening. I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.